Hello everyone, my name is Lily, and today I'm going to share some book recommendations because a lot of people always ask me what they can give someone as a gift, for example, for birthday or for Christmas. So today I want to share my book recommendation for gifts that are perfect to give to someone else. So first I wanted to start with the book The Midnight Library by Matt Hagen, if I pronounce that right. It's a book that I always recommend when people ask me like what book should I read. And it's about Nora who commits suicide. So it starts a bit tragic, but she wakes up in this library. So in this library are like all these kinds of books. And if you open these books, you are able to see Nora's life if she had done something else, if she had chosen the swimming career over her current career, if she would have had bread for breakfast instead of cereal. So you can see and follow her life if she would have chosen just a different path, a different decision. So another book which I would recommend is The Yellow Face. That is a book that I currently started to recommend because I feel like it's very interesting in a kind of way. It's a little bit different from the books I've normally read. And it's about these two authors. And one of the authors, they are also best friends. One is really famous and very successful as an author, while the other one isn't. And at one night, when they both meet up, an accident happened to the famous author. And while the other friend, the not less unsuccessful author, is calling the ambulance, she discovers an unfinished manuscript of the successful author. And she's going to take this book, this unfinished manuscript, with her at home and is publishing it under her name, and she becomes successful. And the thread, a lot of problems also comes with it. And it's, I think, a really nice book because it is different. It's not a thriller, but it's still a non-fiction book. But the way things are described and what problems occur, I just found very interesting. And also the perspective of the main character, because she doesn't really see the problem that she stole that manuscript and published it under her name. It's also a book that really just flies by, and it is especially for someone who don't read that much. So this is also a book I would like to recommend to you. So another famous book, which probably most of you already heard about, is The Housemaid. The Housemaid is a thriller. In German it is called a little bit different. It's called Wenn sie wüsste, but it's the same book, just translated to a different title. It's about Millie, who becomes a housekeeper at this really nice and new house from a new family. And she soon discovers that something does not feel kind of right as it seems. And she's trying to figure out kind of what is like going on in this family, because it seems like this family has a lot of secrets they try to hide. And I was so amazed by this book because usually I don't read thrillers at all. But this one just amazed me, and the pages just flew by. I finished that book in like a day. So I really need to continue the series. So it's also like a series. I think there are in total 3 books. And I really need to continue the series because it is really good and really catchy, and you will never ever see this plot twist coming in this book. I promise. Now I'm coming to a non-fiction book, which is called Atomic Habits, in German, The 1% Method. As you can see, I also read this book, and I made a lot of annotations, and I put a lot of post-its in it. And I also would say I don't read nonfiction that often, but this book by James Clear just amazed me because I felt like he took really complex topics and broke it down really simply so that you are easily able to understand how neuroscience work. Like, what are you doing in your head? Like in English, the title already says Atomic Habits. And it's about how to keep up with new habits, but also how to break bad habits and why we do bad habits, even though we know this is not good for us, for our body. For example, smoking. He takes a lot of smoking as an example in this book. And he just made it clear why we are doing things that we shouldn't, even if we know that it is not good for us. What I personally really liked about this book is that it's also really easy written. It's very clear, and I would say it feels more like reading a story than an actional fiction book. And I felt like I didn't have to concentrate that much to understand what was going on in this book. And I would say it helped me with implying new habits. So I can really recommend that. I felt like it was working, and I thought it was just really engaging, which made me kind of motivated to create new habits in my life. And the last book I would like to recommend today is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I believe a lot of people also heard about that book before. It's from Sarah J. Maas. And I don't have any words how good this series is. In general, the books that Sarah J. Maas wrote are amazing, and they are just full of detail and everything makes sense. But I would especially recommend this book. It has currently, so in total, 5 books in that series. And I would say it's a really good book to start with fantasy because the word building is very easily and you can comprehend very well what is going on and how monsters look, or the creatures in this book, and the magic that is also used in this book. And as you can see, the first book is also not that thick. It has like 400 pages. Yes, 400 pages. So for a fantasy book, I would say that is more in like the lower category from the thickness. And it's about, I hope I pronounce her name right, Fair. And Fair is currently living or has a very poor family, and in the woods she is hunting a wolf, and it turns out that she killed the wrong wolf because it was actually a person. And the consequences are that a high lord called Tamlin is taking her with her as a punishment. And now she's at these high courts with all of that magic which she's not used to, and she needs to find her way through that land. And I think what is so unique about this series is that you need to continue to read that book. I would say it gets pretty suspenseful in between it, and especially in the second book. So this is a book I just would recommend for anyone who wants to start with fantasy and wants to read about a world that you would never ever be able to experience in real life. And I would say this book, is generally, but I feel like it's okayish if you start reading it with like 15-ish, around that. So these were all of my 5 book recommendations I would give to you if you need ever a present for a friend or a family member. And I really hope that you liked that video and that it might help you. I will hope that I might see you next time. Until then, I wish you guys a beautiful day, a beautiful night. And yeah, have a lovely day. Bye!